everyone, and welcome to another Eat Well with Allergy video. So today we're going to be making date orange drop cookies. Now, I have never heard of a drop cookie before my great-great-grandma's recipes, and she had a few of those. So today we're going to be making date orange drop cookies. This is one of my great-great-grandma's recipes, and she was first generation American. Her parents were Swedish, and they were immigrants. And my grandpa kept all of her recipes, and he kept them in the attic or something. And he found them and gave them to my mom. And I am currently writing them all onto a Word document and digitizing them, or whatever the word is. I think I'm getting that wrong, but so. I've never made this recipe before, and I've never tasted a date before, but they are surprisingly good. So let's get started. So today you're going to need half a cup of butter, and I wouldn't soften this because it would make it more crunchy, I think. So I would just scoop it out and have it cold. For sugar, you usually have sugar, right? So you're going to want a cup of brown sugar in this. And for the wet ingredients, butter is wet, but the liquid ingredients, you're going to want 2 eggs, half a cup of buttermilk, which is basically half a cup of buttermilk or half a cup of milk, and a tablespoon of vinegar or so. And then you're also going to want a grated orange zest from 1 orange. And you're also going to want a teaspoon of vanilla in the wet ingredients. For the dry ingredients, besides the brown sugar, which actually isn't that dry because it has molasses in it, you're going to want 1.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. So there's, I forgot the most important ingredient. You're also going to want, it just says on the recipe, 1 package dates quartered, which is, I guess, in this package, 8 ounces. So I'm paraphrasing, 8 ounces of dates quartered. So I just got this from Walmart, and it looks good. I was afraid that we couldn't get dates because I don't know how popular they are. So, let's get started. I'm going to start that video. So, you're going to want to cream together your butter and your sugar together first. So, I'm going to put the sugar and the butter in a bowl. And I'm going to cream these together really, really well. Now I'm going to wipe down the sides because they're like clumps of butter that are still hard because it's hard butter, it's not softened. So this is still refrigerated butter. I'm going to wipe down my paddle, and I'm going to mix this again real quick and try. Okay, now that is creamed. Okay, now I'm going to add the wet ingredients. Sorry, that's just the oven preheating. The orange zest, the milk, the vanilla, the eggs, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to add that to this. And this has a lot of orange zest. I add more orange zest than it called for, but orange zest is delicious. And I know it's a weird color. I actually grated this and froze it. So whenever I need orange zest, I can just get some from my frozen stuff. So I'm going to just whip this up. Okay, as I said in previous videos, once you add a liquid to butter and sugar, it usually looks like it's separated because you're adding liquid to it. So now we're going to slowly add some flour. So I'm going to just add Let me get this so it's not in my way. So I'm just gonna add about half a cup at a time, which is about a third of the mixture. And this also has the baking soda and the salt. So just wipe that down, and I'm gonna mix that up. Now, I'm sure my great-great-grandma did not have a stand mixer because she made this stuff when my grandpa was a kid. So, late 30s. So, I'm going to add some more flour. And right now, it's in the texture of like a cake batter. So, we're going to add the rest of the flour and make a cookie. You're going to wipe down the sides of the bowl, get all that flour in there again, and then wipe down the paddle one more time, and then I'll beat it really well. Okay. And that'll just whip up all the stuff. So now I'm gonna get that paddle off and move over here to my stove. Seamless transition, right? So now I'm gonna wipe down the paddle and get all of that dough, or yeah, kind of dough. Now it kind of looks like cake batter, but you're not supposed to be able to handle these kind of cookies, I don't think, because they're called drop cookies. You're supposed to just drop them on the pan and cook them. So now, to kind of thicken this up, we're going to add dates and some chunkiness. So I just quartered these. They're really sticky because they're dates. Dates are very sticky. And they have a lot of natural sweetness, I think. So we're going to try and break up all those bits that are trying to stick together and mix them together. I think that's a better view. And you can see the bits of date, and I'm just mixing those in, trying to get all of that stuff. And now we're gonna make cookies. So now you're gonna need a cookie sheet with parchment. You're going to I'm gonna get a tablespoon, and I'm gonna just start dropping cookies as it implies in the recipe. I think that's better. So now I'm just gonna get a tablespoon of dough and kind of drop them on. Hopefully these don't spread that much. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Because I have never made these before, so I don't know how much they spread. So I'm going to, and I suppose these are gonna be chewy, so I don't know. And I'm gonna keep them very far apart because I don't know how much these will spread, and the first one will determine how much they spread. So I kind of laid them out like that. This one was this was an anomaly because I in the middle of dropping this one, I thought I should move it here. So that's the anomaly in that one. So now we're going to, okay, it doesn't have, actually, let me just pull up the recipe and see where it actually says the time, because I don't think it has a time. Yeah, it doesn't have a time. It says bake at 400 until delicately brown. So I have no idea. I'm gonna start with 5 minutes and see how long that is. Her recipes sometimes are very vague because I don't think she supposed that her great granddaughter was going to make these for a YouTube channel. She didn't even know what her YouTube was. Okay, so now I have another sheet of parchment, and I'm just gonna add some more cookies while those are baking. So I'm gonna just get a tablespoon and plop six cookies on. And I think these will spread a little bit, but hopefully they don't spread into each other. And I am making these bigger. It says drop from a teaspoon, but those are so small. So I have no idea how long these will take, all that kind of stuff. So there's another sheet, and I guess I'll see you in about 4 minutes. I clean up a bit, and I'll see if those are delicately brown. I feel like my brother, he doesn't understand at all what golden brown means. Delicately brown, I have no idea what that means. So, little experimentation. So I'll see you in about 4 minutes when I check the cookies. Okay, so this is what they look like baked. This isn't 5 minutes. I baked them for another 5 minutes. And they're they don't really move currently because it's hot. But the color, I don't know if you can see that or not. It's moving. Let me see if I can try this again. So I'm going to try and move a little corner of it. And let's see if I can get that. It's currently golden brown. I think that's the color that they should be. So I'm going to get an oven mitt and slide this piece of parchment off. I'm going to slide this piece of parchment on. Now, because they're mostly liquid, some cookies I make, they kind of slide off the parchment when you slide them onto that. But because they're mostly liquid, it's not going to slide off, so you have no worry of that. I'm going to bake these I'm going to try different timings and see which ones work out well. I'm going to try 8 minutes this time. So I'll see you in about 8 minutes. So I have the next batch of cookies out. I did add a couple minutes because I thought 10 minutes was better, actually. So I'm going to keep doing them for 10 minutes each batch. And I'm putting them on a cooling rack each time so I can keep scooping each side and continue the assembly line, kind of. So I'm going to do the next batch of cookies for 10 minutes, same thing. And I'll basically just show you what they look like at the end when I'm done with all of them, which I think will be a couple more rotations. And in the beginning, you don't want to move them around because they're settling and they're very, very malleable. So if I was to slip this under here, you have to kind of be gentle and go side to side, or else you'll tear through the cookie because it's very resistant. Like in this part of the cookie, you meet some resistance and you don't want to push it too much or else you'll rip the cookie like I did this one. And they're still a little malleable. You can still bend them. And so I think they'll be a nice chewy cookie. They're not going to be crunchy. They're not going to be hard. They're not going to be dry. They're going to just be a nice sugary, buttery, with a little bit of flour thrown in so it holds together cookie with dates. So I'll see you at the end when I do the outro and everything. So see you in about 30 minutes, I think. Okay, so last batch of cookies coming out in about a minute. These I just pulled out and put on a cooling rack. And this is the color that they have. Let me just go back in there. It's a kind of golden brown, even though it says delicately brown. But this is the other side of them. And you can see all those little air bubbles that will create a little airiness. And they are a little malleable even after they cool. But I think they'll be chewy. I can't eat for another, 3 hours, 2 hours. So, I just basically put them on cooling rack, let them cool, and then I put them on paper plates, as many as I could fit, and I just stacked them up. There isn't enough weight to push down the cookies by themselves, so I can stack them up and make layers so I don't take up that much space. So I have about 15 seconds on the clock here, and I think that's about enough time. And the last batch, the oven got like really hot, so I turned down the time a little. I cooked them at 9 minutes instead of 10. So these are a little, gonna be a little less golden brown. So if you listen, you can still hear them cooking. And if you want them to get a little more brown than they actually are, just leave them on the heat of the pan, because the pan has residual heat, has leftover heat from the oven, and it'll cook them just a little bit more if you want them to. So that is date orange drop cookies. For the next, I wouldn't say few weeks, for the next year or so, I'll slowly be going through my grandma's recipes that I can cook and my great-great-grandma's recipes from my dad's side. My grandma from my mom's side and my great-great-grandma from my dad's side. That's very confusing to say. But I'll slowly work through those. I'll start with my grandma, and then I still have to type up a few of the great-great-grandma's recipes. I'm to the T's. So I'm getting my typing practice in. So please like, subscribe, comment, go to my Facebook page, look at my other recipes. If you have done any of these, I did ask your advice on Facebook for one recipe that I was doing. It called for citron, which I had no idea what that was. And apparently it's like a lemon lime, and it's like a candied lemon rind, kind of. So thank you for that advice. I had no idea what it meant because it had like half a cup. So it can't be that much zest and it can't be that much juice because you're already putting a lot of liquid into the bread. So thank you for that. It helped me a lot. And let's see. And next time I will be doing apple bread. And I'll be using frozen apples from, we had a ton of apples and no one was eating them, so I peeled them, I cut them up, and I soaked them in some lemon juice and water, and I froze them. So hopefully those turn out well. So I'll see you next week for apple bread. Bye! This is the original recipe from my great-great-grandma for the cookies I just made. So there's that. It was very hard to figure out because I can't read cursive very well. So I'll see you next week.